These 7 pieces compose one of the end sections to the lower case of the cupboard, and I'll show you how they go together as an intro to cutting out parts of this piece. This is the oddball in the whole framing here, and so we've seen these deep rails where I've done the molding on them and cut the tenons on them and such. And that's where I'll begin, is fitting this vertical muntin to that mortise there. And now you can put the beveled panels. Here you see the flat side, whoops, put that down, flat side here, and maybe can pick up the beveled faces there. So that goes to the inside, and tuck those right in the grooves in the muntin and the bottom rail. And these are very fragile. The edges of those are thinned down to absolute nothing, and they're very delicate. If you smack them around too much, you pay for it. And the next piece to go on is this strange one. So this is a stile, really. It's one of the front stiles. That is the front of the case, and it's mortised for drawer rails. So there'll be a deep drawer 7 inches and a 4-inch drawer above it. But it doesn't reach all the way out to the front of the cupboard. This is part of that recess or overhang. So it's got a panel groove here for that panel, and slides down into that mortise in the top edge of the muntin. So that captures those panels there, and then onto it goes the top rail. And then the whole thing gets the rear rail with its 4 mortises, the 2 sets of double mortises. And ultimately that all gets drawboard and pinned. So maybe you can make out here the front, that recessed stile. Now the next batch of work after I get this done on the next end is to cut the front stiles that are all the way out front, the frontmost stiles, and those are square blocks, 3 1/4 inches square and about 9 inches long, one here, one there, and one of those big turned pillars in between them. And then a separate turned foot below. So this is the most complex part of the lower case of the cupboard. And in this video, I'll just show you some of the oddball stuff about that recessed stile. Here's the mate to that recessed front stile with the plow plane and scratch stock molding on the face of it. It's, I think, 4 7/8 of an inch wide. Yeah, and 1 3/4 inches thick. And on the inner edge of it, I've chopped the mortises for the drawer rails. And the next step is to cut out the tenons where this piece joins those deep rails, top and bottom. And those tenons are a little bit odd in that they're running in this plane here as opposed to that plane. But that's how you achieve this overhang in this cupboard. So I'll show you how I set this on the bench and cut those mortises out, and you'll see the effect it had, cut those tenons up, and you'll see the effect it has on these 2 mortises, the top and bottom. One of those, they become opened up into bridle joints. I've grabbed the piece here with a hold fast, just with a block underneath it to protect the surface there. And the front shoulder is slightly undercut. And the same thing at this end. Now to cut the back shoulder, I'll use a short panel saw here. Alright, there they're cut. Now set it up to split those off. One thing that's worth noting, it's a big departure for me, is I've scribbled all over this with pencil, showing the orientation of the tenon and what is the waist. And I'd say I never do that. Clearly I do it. In this case I do it because this is so oddball. And my habit is to cut tenons this way. So I marked this all out. So I'll be sure to get it right. Also, this is a piece that I didn't plane extra stock of this dimension, so I don't want to mess this up. I never want to mess them up anyway, but so to split off this big chunk, what I found in doing the first batch is if I set my chisel way back here to split it off, it's kind of hard to break that off, so I take it out in chunks and like that. And now coming towards the actual tenon, and I'm seeing that it's splitting very straight. So I'll come just about to my line and split that like that. And it's just split in front of the line, so everything is really good. I'll put it right in that marking gauge line now. And split that down like that. And splitting the front is pretty straightforward. I'll still do it in 2 bites. One just to make sure it's going to split well. And that one for keeps. This is 1 7/8 inches wide. This chisel might be 1.5 inches or so. And I've got it held here in this double bench screw, it's called. Now everybody knows it as a Mockton vise. You see now with that tenon cut out this way, that mortise is open on the bottom. And it's immaterial, it's not going to matter. At the bottom of this style, there'll be a little shelf in front of this piece, about 3 inches wide, 2.5 inches wide, that'll cover it up to about here. So this will be out of view. And likewise up above, it gets hidden by a soffit from the piece that overhangs it out front. One thing that I found out in cutting the previous one of these styles, this stock is, as I said, almost 2 inches thick, almost 5 inches wide, and was planed about 5 weeks ago. So it has substantial moisture in it still. And on the previous one, I had some checking on this newly exposed end grain. Because it won't show, it doesn't make a difference. I just don't want it to extend into these edges, particularly into this edge here. So I'm going to seal that with some yellow glue, as I usually do, to reduce checking. Don't need to, but it doesn't hurt. I would prefer to not have any splits starting in there.